On this episode of Industry Relations, why the real estate agent is the true end-to-end platform. Let's go. This is Industry Relations, a podcast at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Cotality. CoreLogic is now Cotality. Same trusted technology and data, just with a new name that reflects their mission to unify property professionals, strengthen industry relationships, and drive innovation globally. Cotality powers tools you already know and love, like Matrix, the gold standard for MLS systems. There's One Home for agents who want to give their clients a more personalized collaboration experience. MLS Touch keeps you connected to the MLS no matter where you are. Realist gives you the insights to stand out as the local expert and tools to fill your funnel with high-value leads. The new One Homeowner platform keeps you top of mind and delivers value long after the deal is done. The new One Homeowner platform keeps you top of mind and delivers value long after the deal is done. Learn more at Cotality.com. And if your MLS is powered by Cotality, don't miss Camp Cotality for MLS staff and leadership this June. It's the perfect place to connect, learn, and see what's next. Our thanks to Cotality for sponsoring Industry Relations.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is your host, the notorious Rob, and as always, my fabulous co-host, the fabulous Greg Robertson.
Yes. Hola, Rob.
Hola, hola.
How are you?
I'm good, man.
Yeah.
Your hair is looking quite fabulous today.
I don't know, man. It's a little bit much. I'm committed to let it grow out a bit, but before mid-year, I might be slapping this off. We'll see what happens.
Dude, we're over 50. You understand how many guys over 50 are just wanting to reach through the screen and kill you because you complain about too much hair.
They can have my man boobs too, so you know.
Oh man. Anyway, so as is our usual, you know, we spent a good 3 hours in pre-show, you know, planning.
Oh, good Lord.
But honestly, it's a little bit slow news-wise. There are a couple things though that I think potentially are worth it. And you brought one up, so I figured I would turn the floor over to you, sir. What important topic shall we discuss today?
I think I want to first talk about, and I'll share the screen. I don't know what I'm going to do here. Screen. I'll share a news story that mortgage lender Lower acquires Movoto and the parent Ojo. I think this is
not
it is
Ojo.
Ojo.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Ojo. Yeah. Not Ojo, like I, in Spanish. No, it's Ojo. So I think this is great news. I think again, I don't think they disclosed exactly what it is, but this is definitely on trend for this whole notion of like what's happening in the portal space, where let's see, close window. Is that right? Stop sharing. I think this is indicative of like, you know, with the Rocket buying Redfin,
Yep.
right, and what we're seeing there. I think I've made this prediction on here before, but I mean, when does Zillow buy Loan Depot? Right?
They don't need to.
I mean, maybe, who knows, whatever.
Bank.
Well, I mean, but not in this kind of like sense. I mean, it's not it's not really a huge one, right? Like Rocket is, right?
I mean, it could become huge. They just have to get, you know, borrowers to it, right?
Yeah.
Zillow owns a mortgage lender, like an originator.
Well, so did like Redfin had like a mortgage thing also, right? They had a mortgage arm,
yeah.
right? So I mean, that doesn't mean anything.
All I'm saying is I don't think Zillow needs to buy a mortgage company. They already have one.
Well, why did Redfin then do that? I mean, why did whatchamacallit,
You mean Rocket buying Redfin?
yeah,
They didn't have a portal.
or Northwest. I mean, sorry, Mr. Cooper. They had Zome. They had a portal.
Mr. Cooper's a mortgage servicing company.
But they had a portal. They bought Zome.
I mean, Zome is not Redfin, right? I'm just saying, yeah. Look, lower buying Movoto
okay.
makes sense.
So okay,
Mortgage
you're saying
companies buying
I'm just
portals
saying
make sense.
I'm predicting Zillow's going to buy some big mortgage thing like a Loan Depot.
That's possible.
And you're saying not. Okay. So,
I'm not saying not. I'm just saying they don't need to. Like Zillow already has mortgage, right?
Well, again, these guys already had mortgage as well, but they still did it.
The bigger question potentially is the other big mortgage guys, right? So Rocket goes and buys Redfin. All right, what does United Wholesale do? Do they just sit back? Right.
I mean, are these market cap wise bigger than Zillow?
Oh, it's like gigantic, like significantly bigger.
Do you see them buying Zillow then?
Possibly.
Okay, so I mean, maybe that's another way.
Right, possibly.
Maybe I'm looking at it from the wrong side, right? It's really the mortgage Loan Depot buying Zillow. I don't know if they're that big.
Maybe it's Wells Fargo deciding they need to play ball.
Sure. Okay.
I guess. But if it was that, which portal do you buy?
Yeah, I mean, there's not that many. I mean, Movoto was like one of the things out there, so it just shows you what a good thing that would be.
I'm curious. Let's see. Top 10 real estate websites, USA. Okay, the top 10 real estate websites in the USA, according to a site called Ruby Home, are Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, Trulia, Homes.com, Movoto, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Compass, and EXP in that order.
Yeah, some of them are brokerages, right? So that's probably not going to happen.
Probably not. Trulia is already Zillow, so that's not a thing. Redfin just got bought. Homes is CoStar. Movoto just got acquired. So guess what? It leaves two companies.
Yeah.
Zillow and Realtor.com.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, I'm happy for the guys at Ojo Labs, right?
Yes,
that,
absolutely.
they had bought I think they bought who was it? A WolfNet back in the day too. There was Joel over there and Berkowitz and all those guys. So I mean, good for them. I mean, I just like seeing movement in that type of thing where, these entrepreneurs that have an exit. So
I was in the same way.
That's fantastic, right?
The exits are phenomenal. Fantastic.
So that's cool.
Yep.
And hopefully this is the sign of some other things happening, right? I mean, I'd heard that there was, I'd done and I'll have to ask him, but I did a interview. I mean, you have the Remind thing, which is a little bit different, a lot different actually. But I did a interview with Ben Kinney on that, and and he had done one also, I think, with Wave Group. But in the end of my interview, he kind of hinted that they were looking at some other companies as well. So I haven't heard anything announced there. So that'll be interesting. But you're starting to see a little bit of movement of that kind of stuff. So that I think that's a welcome thing out there. When some of these entrepreneurs that put their heart and soul into something, have some sort of exit here.
Absolutely.
That's not like a Constellation or something, right?
What do you mean? It's not a Constellation.
Well, I mean, I kid with those guys. It's like whenever a Constellation Software buys anybody, it's usually rock bottom, right? So,
I mean, Stone Point is active, right? They just bought Keller Williams, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? All right.
Yeah.
So here's a question related to that, and I made a video about the acquisition. Like, I'm happy for the acquisition, but it got me wondering about like the rationale for it, I suppose.
Which acquisition?
What's that? The
Which
Movoto
acquisition? Okay.
Right. It's like this whole idea of creating the end-to-end platform, right? And the video I made, we could have that conversation because it was more of a question. Like, I was just wondering, right? But before we get to that, do you think anyone makes a play for Realtor.com? Because like I said, I think Zillow's too big. Do you know what I mean? I think they would be far too expensive. I mean, they're more in like the acquisition position as opposed to the being acquired position, right? Now, granted, if United Wholesale or if Wells Fargo comes along, I'm sure they'll talk, but I don't see that. But Realtor.
Well, hold on. Is there anything within News Corp that's a financial, they own a lot of different entities, right? So I would first look at inward to see, do they own any mortgage or financial assets? I mean, they own the Wall Street Journal, right?
Right. I don't think so.
Yeah. So I would look to that kind of thing to see something.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I mean, there's got to be something that happens there, right? I just think that whole portal game is going to change. Mm-hmm. And, that's not Andy Florence's kind of, thing there. I don't think does he finance commercial, and, on that side? So it's not his kind of thing. But if the industry shifts to that, what is going to be his response, right?
Right.
It might not be anything. It might, he's just following this path of what he's following.
And actually, homes might be the one portal where they do go and acquire, like Zillow acquired home loans, right? I can't remember the name of the bank, but they acquired a mortgage originator. Theoretically, CoStar could then say, okay, let's go get some sort of mortgage company, right? I could see that, but I'm not sure, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah. And we've thought about this like last time. I mean, I think I made something offhanded joke of like, will you be able to like search upon interest rates? Right. I mean, what does that entity look like that it's owned by, and what other things are they going to provide to do that? Right.
It's a great question.
I mean, it'll be interesting to kind of find that out.
And I think once the Rocket Redfin deal closes, it should. There's no anti-competitive anything there. I think we'll find out like what clever things they're going to do. Right. But it's just like I said. I mean, if you look at the portal game, you're right. Century 20 and Coldwell Banker, Compass, eXp Realty, those are brokerage websites. So it's not like some, mortgage lender is going to come. Like, again, like say a Wells Fargo, United Wholesale, right?
Right.
I feel like the only one left really is Realtor.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not like we said before, it's not like that brand Realtor is really doing them any favors right now. No, although, again, this is all inside baseball to us, and like to most agents or most consumers really understand the controversy or what this has kind of gone through, what the industry's gone through as far as in regard to realtors.
I don't know. But more than just the brand name, it's the fact that NAR has, all sorts of rights, right? So whoever acquires Realtor.com would have to...
Yeah, the operating agreement.
Right, would have to do something about the operating agreement, whether they renegotiate that or inherit it or whatever. So it's...
Yeah, and Damien's always talking about, loosening those up to allow him to compete. But that's been Realtor's kind of, problem forever, ever since even when Errol and Kurt were back in there, right?
Pretty much, pretty much. Yeah. So, all right, in any event... It's an interesting observation there. So I'll just ask you the question I asked in my video. Right. So if you look at that article, the reason why Lower bought Movoto is they talked about putting together an end-to-end platform. Right. And they claim like by doing this end-to-end, it's going to drive revenue and profitability for both companies. Like, okay, cool. I think we all understand kind of how that's supposed to work, right? Like how that's supposed to work is I go to Movoto, I search for a home, there's a button or something there, I just click it and it gives me a pre-approval to a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And then I get my mortgage approved, and then somehow within the same platform, Movoto knows like, okay, we're going to send you to this agent who knows that you have this mortgage, and then. Okay. Why do you think we haven't had one successful in residential real estate? Right, because that's the Redfin play, that's Zillow's play, that's the Zillow super app.
You talk about attachment rates. How can we get our attachment rates going?
Right, or whatever it is. Like this end-to-end one-stop shop has been a thing in the industry. I would say maybe the 80s, right? Like if you look at the way that Sendent, which became Anywhere, came about, or look at the way home services came about. The whole premise, in a way, was end-to-end, one platform, one-stop shop, right? That you go to this one company and get everything you need, right?
Right.
From finding the property to having an agent help you to getting mortgage, getting title insurance, getting home insurance, getting whatever, post-closing services, right? Everything. And it just hasn't taken off, right? It just hasn't, like, Zillow announced the super app when, like a year ago, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, I mean, it's like this thing. Is it launched? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
Or is this like the super app is like, it's like Chinatown. It's a state of mind, right? The super app is a state of mind.
But that's the question. So that when I did the video, I wasn't even criticized. It's more like, why haven't we seen it, right? And
well,
I had some theories, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you have to go back just to be, all the way to the beginning, like on a, I hate saying this, but like a first principles position where, who is typically driving this transaction, right? And a lot of times it's a real estate agent, and they have Tim, who's the mortgage guy they've been working with forever.
Right.
And they've got Tim's mobile number, and they can call Tim at 2 a.m. in the morning if something happens, and Tim's going to wake up and get dressed and head down the office and fax something if it needs to happen, right? The black box of like, okay, I liken it to like a lot of people use like hotels.com and Expedia and stuff. I don't do that. I always book it directly with a hotel because I've had experiences where I'll go to a hotel and I booked it through that, and I haven't done this in forever, but back in the day it was like, well, we can't help you.
Right.
You booked it, contact those guys on the freaking interweb, right? It's like, how, for me to get a hold of, I have you in front of me I can talk to. You're telling me I can't talk to you. I got to go on a chat bot on their website, or I got to call them. No, man. I mean, not when that kind of money's on the table, right? I don't think that's going to be the thing. Like, and again, they're independent contractors, right? They don't give it's butt kiss what the broker says. It's, they could throw all these incentives up there, but it's really not a big thing, right? So,
right.
I just think it gets down to that. It's like, these are independent contractors and they can do with it whatever they want. There's nothing forcing them to make that happen, right? Yeah.
But that raised the question of, why wasn't Redfin able to do it? Because they're not independent contractors.
Right.
Right. And Redfin owned the mortgage company. They owned Redfin Closing. They had title. They had all this. And it didn't look like it got much traction. Right. Redfin itself couldn't create this end-to-end platform. Right.
Right.
So,
well, wasn't it always a case where like Redfin was a very high trafficked site, and like a lot, like it's my favorite, mobile app experience. But they just couldn't get people to convert, those buyers to convert.
Right.
Right. So I don't know why that's the case. Right. So, but it's rooted in that, maybe because, by the time they're looking at houses and stuff, they've already been kind of contacted by a realtor, and the realtor's already kind of got them to use Tim. Right. Because, Tim's the one. I think it's, I remember what my agent was. Rob was the guy we always use here, right? Yeah. So I think I've used him the last 2 houses, right? So
yeah. It's just like this mystery. So here's my theory behind
it. But if you let's like look in the future, were they weren't owned by it. There's this like different thing, but if by being owned by Rocket, there can be offered true incentives,
right?
Maybe that would move the needle, right? Right? Maybe it's before there wasn't really any true incentives where the consumer is going to go, hey, I appreciate Tim and everything, but I'm going to save $40,000 by doing this thing, and if Tim can give me that same deal, sure,
right.
And if Tim can't, no, I'm going to save myself $40,000, right?
That's right. No, and so my theory behind it was that the end-to-end platform doesn't offer enough value to the consumer.
Right.
That was now part of it is because, like you pointed out, agents are independent contractors. The productive ones all have existing relationships, so it's very difficult for some sort of tech platform, to come in and be like, you're going to use us, right? Like it doesn't. There's a breakage, right? And I think that's the case even if, let's say I'm a buyer, I go to Zillow, right? I find the house, I click the nice whatever get pre-qualified button, right? And I get pre-qualified through Zillow Home Loans. At some point, I end up with a premier agent, right? Some buyer agent, and that agent's gonna be like, "You're pre-qualified." Oh yeah, I got pre-qualified through Zillow Home Loans. Like, let me have Tim take a look at that. I bet he could do a better. I bet he could get you a better rate.
Right.
I think that's what happens. Right?
But is it like, if I remember correctly, aren't there incentives if you want to be a Zillow Premier agent that a certain percentage of your deals has to go through Zillow stuff, right? I thought they put those incentives in place, or like not even incentives. It's like if you want to be on the program, at least 10% of your loans have to go through Zillow loans.
Possibly, and obviously Zillow has very high priced lawyers, right? Who probably said that this is RESPA compliant. I wonder about that because that is clearly a thing of value. Right. Whereas Rocket Redfin, presumably, if they structure correctly, will not have that problem. But even so, Redfin itself didn't have that problem because, again, W2 employees, right? The whole thing. And we just haven't seen this end-to-end platform like come about. So what that got me thinking, Greg, was what's an example of an end-to-end platform that consumers do use all the time? The only one I could think of was Amazon.
How is that end to end? What do you mean?
Because I go to Amazon, right? I buy something, and then I pay for it through Amazon because they already have all my info, right? And then it ships through Amazon Prime, right? And it's at my door in 2 days, right? Like that's end to end.
Well, they didn't make it though, right? I mean, I guess.
What do you mean they didn't make it?
Well, whatever the thing you're buying, but that doesn't.
Correct.
I think you're saying the infrastructure
Correct.
for it.
Not only that, but I think it's 40% of stuff that you buy on Amazon is not sold by Amazon. It's sold by some company.
Right.
Like a retailer. So Amazon then is truly a platform, right? So I'm some small business. I go to Amazon. I go join this platform, right? And Amazon charges me an ass load of money, right? Like to take advantage. But what they have is this end-to-end from search through fulfillment, like literally the box showing up at my door, right? And consumers do use that.
I guess Shopify is a little bit like that. That's a kind of like mini Amazon in a way for independent, small businesses kind of thing.
Right.
Is it though? Does it have to be end-to-end, or can it be just you put together this bundle of services that everybody kind of uses, right? I mean, like I think about like a platinum card, right?
Okay.
A lot of times they promote for a platinum card, and I used to have one. I don't have one now, but hey, you get when you some level of car insurance for your rental car. You get access to lounges, airline lounges when you're like the United Lounge or something like that. You get a discount on Spotify. You get this whole thing, and that's the big lure of that is like, oh, when you have this platinum card, you're going to get all these membership has its privileges, right? You have all those kind of things, right? So, and I know I think that's a big way they sell it, right? Is that you do that, right? Or discounts on travel and your own travel concierge kind of thing, right? And or when the Britney Spears concert comes out, you're high on the list for that or things like that, right? I mean, that could be, I don't know if that's end to end, but it's
not.
like
That's not end to. That's just perks, right? End to end to me, like I said, it's just I go somewhere as a consumer, I do everything through that website or platform because it delivers so much value to me.
Right.
And like I said, Amazon's the only one I could think of, right? And I to the point where I'm willing to pay Amazon like $100. I can't remember what the subscription fee is now to get Prime membership, right? So that I want 2-day shipping on all my shit, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's another experience that we just had in the Robertson household is that based upon your advice, right, we leased a Tesla, right? Amazing experience, right? So we get the iPhone app, and we open it up, me and my son, right? And we choose the damn car we want.
Yep.
We choose the, different things we want on it, right? Which wasn't, they had a deal on a lease for 2 years, which was pretty cheap.
Dude, it's the best effing car deal in the country right now.
And then, and then you choose it, you select it, and then it's like, okay, how do you want to pay for your down payment, right? Well, okay, just Apple Pay. I mean, and then it's like, okay, how are you going to make the payments on here, right? Yeah. Okay, well, this is my bank account, right?
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, we'll let you know when your car's ready. It was, so then the next day, it sends us some emails, and we watch the videos to like when you get your car.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, hey, we have one available now. Actually, they were telling us it's going to be 2 weeks, but it's up in West Hollywood and this and that, or you can wait. I'm like, we'll wait. And then pretty soon, 4 days later, it's available in Irvine.
Yeah.
We go down to Irvine.
Yeah.
Right. We walk. There's a car there. It's got a little placard. It says,
Yeah.
Congratulations, Tobias Robertson.
Right.
We had it, under his name for him, and we walk in there, and the guy comes out with his iPad and goes bleep bleep bleep.
Yep.
And he says the one thing people screw up on is the flap. Don't touch the flap.
Right.
And you got the app installed. Okay, have a nice day.
Yeah.
Done.
Right.
Like the last time I was in a car dealership, I was there for 4 hours.
That's right.
Right. So that to me was the most crazy end-to-end experience I've ever think. And then even goes further. We didn't get like a full they have like it's just it's software, right? So it's like if you wanted the full drive FSD,
full self-drive. Yeah.
Full self-drive, you could buy that later as an add-on. It'll just adds $50 to your monthly payment or whatever. We're not doing that, but I mean that's available, right? No, it was an incredible end-to-end experience as far as, and they manufactured the thing too. So really, if you think about it, it's their own product and everything. It was kind of crazy, right?
You're right. And that's an end-to-end platform in a sense. But it was just one of those things.
Oh, and then we don't have the charger installed at home yet, right? So that's in a couple weeks. I went to the Tesla supercharger thing,
right?
And my app already had my information on it, and then I plugged it in, and boom, baby.
Boom. Yeah.
So I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It was just a weird, epiphany on kind of some things, right?
Yeah. Imagine how. But that's to your point. That's a manufacturer that runs a dealership that
Well, it's a true end to end, really.
True end to end.
They start from aluminum,
right?
Right.
All the way to, by the way, they will supply the power if you get the Tesla.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, if you buy the whole thing.
There's that. But other than that, though, like I said, all I was trying to do is to say, okay, why don't we have this end to end in real estate? Even though this is something that real estate companies have been pursuing for decades, right? It's like everybody's holy grail. It's such a holy grail that lowers out there saying, well, let's go buy a portal because that's an important part of the end-to-end experience. Okay, how come it's never we just haven't seen it?
Yeah, again, I mean, maybe because they haven't been able to do it because of either RESPA or the separation of the bank, the mortgage company and the portal. I mean, now that they can control the whole thing, the mortgage company can control the whole thing. They have some ideas where they're going to increase that attachment rate and do it, right?
Right.
I think the separation between the independent contractor and I bet you if you look at Zillow's attachment rate, there's probably better than most because of the premier agent kind of necessities of like if you want to keep in that thing. Right.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So maybe Zillow does, sort of show us the first full end-to-end platform. I'm just not sure what it is, right?
Well, the other part is that, I think we talked about this the last podcast or one before that when you and I were at the ICE conference.
Right.
And you and I both were shocked. So Lucy was up on stage, right? She does a great job.
Yep.
And they're now owned by ICE, this mortgage services. I mean, well, I guess they bought. I'm not sure. They do a lot about the mortgages, right?
Yeah.
So they asked the audience, which is a bunch of MLS execs, and they had the kind of that polling thing. You could do live polling.
Yeah.
And okay, what if we put within the, let's say the client portal experience, the listing alerts, the reverse prospecting thing, a way that agents could get their clients pre-approved for a mortgage within, that part of that MLS experience. And I think you and I were looking at each other going that is not going to happen. No MLS is going to happen. And they did a poll. It was 90% said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Right?
They'll say that until the largest broker in that market comes to knocking on their door,
No, but the way that remember the way she framed it is they're the underling of it. It doesn't matter what, they're just handling the process of getting it. If you tell them only set it for this mortgage company, they're fine with that. They're the plumbing underneath it, right?
Sure.
So, kind of fascinating actually.
Sure. But that's not going to happen. that's not an end-to-end platform. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, does it make the MLS a bit more an end-to-end platform? Right?
I don't know. Maybe for the consumer, like I don't know how that changes anything.
Okay,
So
well, let's look at. Hold on. Let me just make a pitch for that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, an agent talks to a consumer. Consumer says, "I want to buy this house." Great. What are you looking for? Okay, let's set you up in the MLS, right, for a listing alert. For you want to live in Huntington Beach, a house between 1.2, 1.5,
Right.
92646, at least 3,000 square feet. Boom. They start getting listing alerts. One of the listing alerts they get is like, hey, you should be, get it, pre-approve yourself. Okay, boom. They do that, right? Boom, boom, boom. They find the house. You're pre-approved. They go see it, right? Booking with the showing software that's in the MLS system, right? They book the showing system. Okay, that's good. Okay, they look. They do all that kind of shit. They use the agent to negotiate that, and they've already got pre-approved with that kind of thing, and then they sign. I mean, that's pretty fucking end-to-end right there.
So what you just said actually makes me rethink kind of my issue. Okay, so I'm
an issue.
Okay, like I said, when I made my video, I was just asking, like, I don't know why it hasn't happened. 1099, this, that, RESPA, that's another thing. I think the real answer is this. I think the real answer is that real estate already has an end-to-end platform, and it's called the real estate agent.
Well, that
Right?
matches because they always talk about a realtor as like they wear so many hats.
Right.
Maybe they're the juggler of this.
Because what you're saying is true. Right?
Yeah.
I think I wrote a post a while back, and this was in the midst of like the search. Everyone's talking about modifying search this. I remember writing a post saying, "I don't search. I actually don't go to Zillow. I don't go to Redfin. I don't search. Instead, I call my realtor." And I say, I'm looking for a house like this. And my realtor does the searching, right? And this is very different than like the studies, right? What the studies, all the research shows that consumers use the internet 100% of the time.
Yeah, 100%.
They're the ones finding the house and sending it to the realtor. Because I'm in the industry, I don't do that. I call my realtor and go, I'm looking for a house like this. Find me one. Right? And then that realtor actually is my end-to-end platform.
Yeah, in a sense.
Right?
Yeah.
In a sense, like, hey, you need to get pre-approved. Okay, cool. Like, tell me what I need to do. Call Tim. Right? I'll call Tim. Tim goes, I'll get the information from your realtor, but tell me if this, that, or the other. Okay, cool. Here's, right? Like,
yeah, that might work for I don't know if that works for first-time home buyers in a sense, because I think
in a sense.
Right. But I mean, after that, if you had a good relationship with the agent, I mean, you keep that. I've always kind of likened a good realtor to be, somebody that just can manage everything for me. When I started kind of Giant Steps, it's like I was thinking of I wanted to be like that guy from Pulp Fiction, the Wolf Man. Right? I'm just going to, I got this problem. I got this issue. I'm going to call up Greg. Yeah. Hey, man, this needs to happen, right? I'm like, I got you. Right? And then I just take care of it, right? I got the team, and we all just kind of come in there and okay, here we've analyzed the situation. Here it is, right? But a good realtor should get you a restaurant reservation that you can't get you those tickets you wanted to get for whatever. I mean, I've got a great accountant. Sure. All that kind of thing should be
at least housing related, right?
Well, still,
literally, hey, we need to do repairs. So turns out we're going to need to do something about your roof. Realtor, I know the roofer. In fact, I know 3, right? Like, I think that's the answer. I think the answer is that real estate already has an end-to-end platform, and it's called a real estate agent.
Right.
So therefore, when Zillow or Redfin or whoever wants to come in and be like, we want to be an end-to-end platform, I think you get resistance from 2 places. Right? One is from the consumer standpoint. They're like, what is this platform going to do for me? What's the value of me using this platform? Right? And we talked about this when we were talking about the multiple website thing. In travel, a lot of times it's because there's all this loyalty stuff, right?
Right.
I book all my hotels through Marriott because I'm Marriott Gold,
me
whatever,
too.
right? I want the points, right?
Yep.
But Hotels.com is trying to do the same thing. Hey, every whatever 10 nights you book, you get one for free. Yeah, something. They all tried this loyalty thing. You don't have that in real estate, right? It's not like Zillow goes, hey, every third home you buy, Zillow will pay the commission. Like, it's not that, right? So there's no loyalty, right?
It's just the transactions are so far apart, you can't really do that.
Correct. It doesn't make any sense, right? That's number one. And then the other part is, it's not like the convenience is that overwhelming. It's not the Tesla experience, right? It's not Amazon. So, okay, fine, I go to Movoto, I go to Zillow, I go to some portal, right? I go to Redfin, and I search, and then it's like, okay, click this button to get pre-approved, et cetera, et cetera. But at some point, I'm going to end up with an agent, right? And that agent is the end-to-end platform. That agent's going to go, hey, so let's look at your mortgage, let's look at your insurance, let's look at this, let's look at that. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're going to need to hire a gardener, to like.
Yeah, I guess in the sense of like I was describing, where the agent has Tim. Right, and they have that relationship. It's like the consumer has their agent.
Right.
I don't want to be on a chat bot on fucking Zillow trying to figure out why my mortgage hasn't been approved. I want to talk to Lisa, and Lisa's got it handled. That's and if she doesn't have it handled, I can talk to a human being on that, right?
So isn't that where these fail? Because Lisa, maybe she hasn't articulated it, right? Maybe she hasn't sat down and like walk through this, but kind of in her gut she knows that all these end-to-end platforms, all they're doing is fucking interfering with her, her job, her role, her relationship, right? And maybe that's why things like the Zestimate pisses agents off, right? Because they feel like, wait, I'm the end-to-end. The consumer came to me and I'm saying, look, your house is worth this. And the consumer's like, yeah, but Zestimate says that and this other thing says that, and the agent's like, WTF, right? Now, here's the problem. The issue is too many agents are incompetent. Like, that's honestly the issue. Because if every agent was a top-notch professional, like NAR wants to pretend, then consumers really don't need a hell of a lot more other than call an agent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, more consumers than ever are using agents, right? But I mean, I understand your point.
But when the agent then doesn't do it, then that's when they go, okay, well, I need a portal. I need something. I need some other.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I wouldn't count the portals out making these moves or the mortgage companies because, there could be a magic bundle. It's like, yeah, I'm going to give that up because it's quite a bit of savings or there's other things that are perks that I think are valuable to me. And and organized real estate is kind of handling these things a little bit with different tools to help the agent. Like, our sponsor they have the One Home and they have the One Homeowner platform, which has like some past client or things, nurturing things. And Sheila, I like a lot of another vendor, young vendor with Mosaic, is like they have this tagline of "There's no such thing as a past client," because you need to have that kind of post relationship, so that when they say I need to do something, I'm going to call Susan, right? So for sure.
But as we've talked about on that front, that's a whole other conversation, right? Agents don't want to do any of that because effectively what you're talking about is property management.
Well, it's more client management, right? It's just keeping that relationship going after the transaction, right? More hens instead of roosters, right?
Yeah, but think about what that means, right? Like, it's a lot of annoying fucking emails most of the time. It's a lot of, hey, it's time to spring forward on your clock. Like, it's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah,
like,
I think the ones that do it correctly, they can manage that. They're doing it better, right? But yeah, recipe cards aren't going to do it for sure.
What I'm saying is, if you really wanted to do this like homeowner experience thing, then what it really does come down to, in my opinion, is property management. Like, literally, hey, I sold you this home, awesome. Why don't you let me manage your home for you? Because there's going to be a billion things that you haven't even thought about, right? Like, sure, you can think about mowing the lawn, right? But you haven't thought about water heater maintenance.
Yeah, I think that's what that One Homeowner platform does for totality.
Right. But here's my thing. If I'm the agent, man, I don't want to outsource that to totality.
Well, it's a platform that they use, right? So it's just a tool. It's not they're outsourcing it, but I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
And but the second part of it is because if you're a productive agent, you spending any time doing that is cutting into your lead gen time.
Yeah.
And the amount of money you could make. And this was, I think, was a company that Rivers was involved with. They were doing the home ownership thing too. What was their name? They raised like $20 million.
Yeah. No, they're part. I think that's what Cotality uses as the base level. It's a white branded white labeled kind of thing.
Yeah.
They changed their name too a couple times. Yeah.
Dustin, I know, is the founder.
Yeah.
But that was a premise, right?
Right.
There were a number of companies that went something like, "Look, we can help you with your home ownership experience," and what comes out of it is like, "Yeah, but for an agent, like I don't want to do that." Right? I might have someone on my team, right, do that because they're not making any money, but there's a lot of that involved, and property management is a pretty thankless job, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, but I don't know. I don't know how this all plays out, but that's not even end to end because that's the home ownership experience.
It's funny because, just realizing this is like, as much as everybody talks about like the disruption of agents, we're having a podcast now of like, really, it's all about agents, right?
But I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's because I've had experience with having a really great agent.
Yeah, me too.
Right. And once you have that, you really don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And
the agent I have is like, he's really good about like, this is a nice house. I know you and Jen very well. And like, if you're ever, just keep, up to date about what's going on. They're always kind of thinking about that or turn me on to an income property or something like that. Right. So, yeah.
Right. Or they'll be like, hey, I know you think you like this house, but you really don't want it.
Yeah.
Oh, why not? Well, it's because X, Y, and Z. This particular builder, did real shoddy work back in the 90s.
Yeah. Right? No, they have that level of detail.
That's right. I mean, like, where am I going to go find that on a portal? Right?
Yeah.
What platform is going to give me that?
Zillow can't smell the cat.
Well, as you like, and again, this is not a knock on the portals. The portals serve a really valuable, role, right? Because frankly, the agent could be like, and by the way, get on Zillow, get on Redfin, and if you find something interesting, send it to me, right? But I think that might be why we haven't seen this end to end. Because in retail, you don't have this, right? Like Amazon came along, there wasn't like some person whose job is to make your entire retail experience like smooth and trouble free, right? That like didn't exist. So for them, it's like, all right, we're gonna have it handle everything for you, right? From website to I'm gonna keep your credit card on file, all the way through to like 2-day shipping, and to returns. By the way, right? One of the reasons why I use Amazon is because returns are so easy. Most companies, most retailers cannot do that.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some of that, but in real estate, it's like I don't know. There's really no need for some technology-based end-to-end platform for the consumer. Now, here's the question, because this now goes back to your MLS thing. Is there a need for an end-to-end platform for the professional?
Well, I mean, again, I think a little bit that the MLS serves as that purpose a little bit, right? I mean, regardless of what a lot of people think.
Do they? Let's talk about that. What is the end-to-end experience for a professional, and what does the MLS serve?
Well, I mean, it's comps. It's what's for sale, what hasn't sold, when it's sold, how much it's sold for. A way of learning of taking that data and analyzing that.
You're leaving out two incredibly important parts. So let's change this. I actually think there might be a play for an end-to-end platform for professionals. Okay, but what does end-to-end mean for an agent, for a professional?
Right.
It means from lead generation,
I was going to say,
all the way through to closing and payment.
Yeah.
MLS does not play a big enough part.
You're right.
Zillow only plays a part in lead generation. They don't play a big enough part in all of the steps in between, right? Because we have a 100-year system, right? So, okay, lead gen, offer and contract, right? Negotiation, inspection, photographer, like all of that, all the way through to escrow, then title insurance, closing, and the disbursement of funds. It's a really complicated process with like dozens of moving parts, right? And there is no platform.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people trying, right? Lone Wolf is trying. The Inside Real Estate is trying with their acquisitions and everything of putting together everything that kind of connects together that, through a CRM and leads to a CRM to whatever to this. I mean, Zillow's in that game a little bit,
right? Because they bought Follow Up Boss, right?
And sharing from what I know about Lone Wolf, that's what I'm most familiar with, is that they do have lead generation services that can go into their own CRM, right? They can generate a CMA, that can start a e-signature thing to sign the listing agreement, and then they can from that point generate more documents as part of that transaction, and then that can go flow into their accounting software to write the agent a check, right? That's a commission check, right? So that's pretty
interesting.
And that with Lone Wolf, I know that can be done, right? That can be done a while back. They had kind of actually experimented with actually adding title into that and some other things. They have this marketplace to do that, so I'm sure there's either add-ons that they can do to that based upon their kind of APIs, right? So, and then you can argue the guys over at Inside Real Estate. They bought what, Boomtown? Who they buy? I always get Boomtown and the other guys that start with a B.
I can't remember. Yeah.
But they have their own kind of websites. Again, Lone Wolf has websites. I'm sure agent websites that generate leads that that go into blah blah blah. Into their whole thing, right? So they're all kind of. A lot of them are trying to. MoxiWorks, another one. They I'm sure they claim they have a end-to-end kind of thing, right? So,
but MoxiWorks still only has. So here's the thought experiment, right? And I don't know which way this happens, but essentially imagine a merger between Zillow and Black Knight.
Well, ICE, yeah.
ICE, right? Because ICE has mortgage servicing, mortgage origin. I don't think they ever. A merger between ICE, Zillow, and United Wholesale. Right. Not aimed at the consumer, aimed at the professional.
Right.
Right. So as an agent, I guess they would then have to buy an MLS.
Yeah. Well, they did.
Who?
ICE.
ICE doesn't. They don't own an MLS. They own software.
Oh, you mean an MLS organization?
Yeah. Like and then they go buy CRMLS. Right. So now as an agent, it's something like from lead gen through Zillow, right, all the way to like listing entry, like everything you would do in the MLS, through transactions, through the entire thing. And by the way, by escrow can all be handled by this single platform. Title insurance, everything handled through that. And the only wrinkle is that the agent has relationships.
Right.
Agent has Tim.
Yeah, and what I guess all this thing has to happen is that this black box that it has to get so good,
right,
that agents are going to will trust that process, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be like, sorry, Tim, but black box is way better and cheaper. And not only that, what's the benefit then to the agent? Right. It cannot be simply just convenience.
Right.
It has to be money. It has to be financial. Like you either make more money or you'll save a ton of money.
Right.
By using this, because professionals aren't going to be overly, about convenience. Like, oh, that's cool, but I could call my photographer too, right? So it's not. But it has to be, hey, your photographer charged you $5,000. Use our platform. It's only $1,000. So, something, right? It's got to be that. Don't you think? All right.
No, it has to be. It has to be money.
So, can that platform be built?
Again, it's going to be a trust factor. You have to like the agent, everybody has to have that trust no matter that it's online, that it's going to happen. Right.
What do you
Otherwise, well, it's just the reason they have Tim is they can call Tim up if there's any problems. If after a while you use this black box for a while and like it never has any problems and they guarantee whatever. Then
or the black box has a Tim, right?
Right. Yeah. Something. Right.
Something.
Maybe it's what do you call it? Agenic? I mean, maybe it's all AI takes care of all this shit, right? You think you have a Tim, but really it's a bit and a bot. Yeah. A beat the boot bot.
By the way, I watched Companion. We'll have to talk about that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But
we should wrap here.
That platform feels like it's a multi dozens of billions of dollars to put together. That platform.
Yeah, to me, this right. Agentic, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, this world of AI where they can, now you can hook things together and things do things for each other and then are able to communicate. Man, it's maybe closer than you think, dude.
Maybe, but you still have to actually deliver the service. So think about like title insurance and escrow, just that, right? That's a multi-billion-dollar business. Multi-billion-dollar business. Like First American is a pretty big effing company, right? Yeah. They do a lot of services. So you'd have to combine that with like all of the inspection, all of the, like appraisal, like all of that, right? And then combine that with the MLS, and then combine that with lead gen, a giant major portal. It feels like 10 or 20 times bigger than Zillow, is my point. Can it be done? I suppose it can, in theory. And then once that's done, you have to offer something of so much value to the broker and agent that they're like, this is a no-brainer. I have to use this platform.
Right.
Right. Because what it then allows the agent to become the end-to-end platform for the consumer.
Right.
Huh. I think we made a breakthrough. I think we have delivered something of value to the industry.
We'll see what happens.
Which is to say, I don't think that's going to happen. Right. I don't think that's going to happen.
So agents, they still live. Agents, it lives. It's alive.
Well, we've always said the great agents have no issues.
Yeah.
Right. And people are like, no, I'm all for great agents. I'm all against the bad ones. Right. But that's like one of those. And I think one of the issues is it's very hard to be that end-to-end platform if you're inexperienced and new. Right. Right.
It's an inferior end-to-end platform.
It's an inferior end-to-end platform. Right. And maybe that's a role that's something like an agent team can play. And maybe that's a role that brokers can play for their agents. But it's like rethinking, like reconceptualizing what is it that you do to add value. Right.
The wolf man.
What?
The wolf.
The wolf. That's right. Winston Wolf.
Winston Wolf. That's right.
All right. Let's leave it there. I can't believe we managed to get an hour out of that small, slim piece of news. But that's what we do around here.
That's right.
We overthink shit to the nth degree. And then we arrive at breakthroughs like the agent, the professional end-to-end platform. That should be the holy grail. But boy, is it going to be expensive to put together. Right, and I don't think it'd be done. So, I'm going to leave it there. If you have any thoughts, if you have any, concerns or questions, please let us know, and we look forward to seeing y'all the next time.
Yeah, and congratulations to John Berkowitz and everybody over at Ojo.
Absolutely.
Great job, yeah.
Exits, baby.
Exits.
Right. Later, y'all.